that if but that's only if all things remain equal. But if the synagogue that's right across the street from my house, by me going to that synagogue, I'm going to go to synagogue more often. But if the other one becomes my synagogue, and this is not my synagogue, I'm going to go 90-80%. I'm going to miss out all those times. Or that other synagogue that's across the street from my house has a dynamic rabbi, or he has a dynamic, or the people are much stronger people. Okay, or I can make that difference to keep the minyan. Right, meaning, so then you gotta there's a whole wing. It's not just about, okay. On the one hand, you got Succah that Nathan was talking about, the rewards for every step, but then there's other things we have to weigh on put on. I don't think that would be considered. Okay, good morning. That's how I would answer your question. The Vatican minyan. He wanted to know what's the. It's definitely ideal to dam Vatican, but that's only when everything else remains. You have to weigh the whole thing. Let's. David, let me ask you a question. I go to the Vatican minyan certain times of the year, like Vatican is very early, extremely early, correct? And let's say someone's married to a woman who, when you get up, she wakes up. And now, and she can't go back to sleep. So now you want to go to the Vatican minyan because you want to, but now, you just have to, there has to be, there's a picture. You have to have the whole picture. Okay. Okay. Good morning, everybody. We are moving close to the end of the Masechta. We are on 56A2. No. This is the Sukkah over at 56B. This is book 2. Okay. So yesterday, what we lined up the men just to put everybody into. We had a machloket by Sukkah, and what do you do in the kiddush? Do you say the leishev Sukkah first and then the shechianu? Or do you say the shechianu and then the leishev? We had Rav and we had Rav Bachana. And then we had a machloket at Beishamai Beit Hillel regarding Shabbat. On Friday night of Shabbat, do you say Geffen and then the Bracha on Kiddush, which that's what we do. We say Geffen. We say Psukim, Vaychul HaShemayim V'aretz, say Psukim, and then we say Geffen, and then we go into the Bracha that talks about the day of Shabbat. Or do you say the bracha that talks about Shabbat, and it concludes bracha to Hashem, Shabbat, and then Gefen. That's the other opinion. That's the opinion of Beis Shammai. And the Gemara's concern was, it seems that the Amoraim, the later rabbis, are lining up with these earlier rabbis, and one rabbi is lining up with Beis Shammai. And there's no way that rabbi is going to want to take the opinion of Beis Shammai, because Beis Shammai is not the halacha. And how is he going to explain his opinion that he fits according to that he fits according to Beit Hillel? He needs to fit according to Beit Hillel. And also the fact that each rabbi stated his law as his own thing. He didn't say, I hold like Beis Shammai, I hold like Beit Hillel. Nobody said, no one acknowledged that there's a machloket, there's an argument in their case. They argued about Sukkah. Leishev Sukkah, and then Shechianu, and Leishev. Each one took a position, a different position than the other one, but no one said that my position is only working with one rabbi, with one rabbi from previous generation. Every person seems to indicate that their position is a unanimous position of all the earlier rabbis. No earlier rabbis disagree. And that's what our Gemara is going to show, that each rabbi here could defend their position to state that their position would be in sync with all the previous rabbis, Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. That's what the Gemara is going to do today for us. Now, the Gemara had set up the question because let's say, for instance, we had Rambam Bachana said, you go after Tadir. He says, Tadir v'she'ena Tadir. He says, you got to go say the Geffen first, He stated that when it comes to Sukkah, you have to say the Shechianu first. When it comes to Sukkah, you got to say Shechianu. Shechianu is something that's more common. We say it on Pesach, on Sukkot, on Shavuot. That's more common, and therefore you should say the bracha of Shechianu before the bracha of Leisha Basukah. That's what he said, based on the rule of Todeh V'Sheina Todiyah. So he seems to fit with Beit Hillel's rule by Shabbat. That Beit Hillel says by Shabbat, you do the Geffen first, and then you do the bracha on Shabbat. So the Gemara is going to show he's going to defend his position that I'm not only going to hold like Beit Hillel, I also going to hold like Beit Shammai. That even though Beit Shammai says when it comes to Shabbat, he says that you say the bracha on the Shabbat first, but he will agree when it comes to Sukkah, the Tadiyah V'Sheina Tadiyah, that would win over here. And similarly with the other opinion of Rav's opinion. The Rav says Sukkah v'achar hazman. Rav says, what do? You say the leishev, and then you say the shechianu, which he's looking at the obligation of the day is what you do, focus on first. The obligation is to sit in the sukkah. So based on that, when it comes to Shabbat, and when it comes to Shabbat, you should also say the bracha of Shabbat first, before the Geffen. So how could he fit with the opinion that says otherwise? So that's what we're up to now. So the Gemara says, Lema, we are on Lema on 5682. Lema Rav the Amar Kebe Shammai. It would seem that Rav that says that you don't look at the Tadir, is like the opinion of Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai did not look at the Tadir, and Beis Shammai says you say the bracha on the Shabbat first. So too, Rav says you say the bracha on the Sukkah, on the Leishiv first. So he seems to be like Beis Shammai. And Rabbi Bachana, who says you say the Shechianu first, which is the more Tadir, the Amaki Beit Hillel seems to be whole like Beit Hillel. And the problem the Gemara has is they seem to have been saying their opinion is a universal opinion. So Amalach Rav. So Rav is going to answer you. Rav is going to explain that his opinion by Sukkah would be according to everybody. He's not taking a single opinion. Ana the Amri, I Rav, who say you say the Leishiv Basukah first. Ana the Amri afilu lebeit Hillel. Beit Hillel, who says that by Shabbat you have to say the Geffen first, he would agree that when it comes to Sukkah, you will not say the Shechianu first. Why? Ad kan lo kamri Beit Hillel hatam. You know why Beit Hillel says you got to say the Geffen first? Because you have not only you have the reason of Tadir, but on Shabbat there's a double. El shehayayin goreim l'kiddush te'omah. The wine is so powerful. The wine that you bring, Simon, Friday night to your table, that wine is not only the more frequent bracha that you make on the Geffen, that you make more than the bracha on the Shabbat, but also the wine is the cause of us having kiddush. No wine or no pat or no bread, one Aaron, no wine, no bread, there's no kiddush. Because of its importance. Therefore, it's appropriate to give it the respect it deserves, and therefore the wine, the blessing on the wine should come first Friday night by kiddush. However, aval hacha, but when it comes to Sukkah, do I need the Shechianu in order for me to go ahead and say is the Leishev Basukah, is the mitzvah of Sukkah dependent on the Shechianu? No. Ilav Zman, if there wouldn't be Zman, Milo minash sukkah. I still will say the bracha leishem basukkah. Let's say when I was building the sukkah, I said the shechianu, and I'm not coming to say shechianu now. Elav zman milo mina sukkah. I would still go ahead and say and say this bracha is here independent of the shechianu, or there's no or not independent of the shechianu. Yes.
More important covering because we don't normally you do bread before one.
Right. So generally, bread comes before during the weekdays. If I have in front of me bread, and I have in front of me wine, I'm at a wedding, about to, and I have a question. Should I go ahead and say hamotzi first, and then say hagefen? Because hamotzi does not cover gefen. If you're on a weekday where you don't have kiddush wine, you said hamotzi. And now I have an opportunity. I can say a gefen and then hamotzi, or motzi and then gefen. What do I say first? Say hamotzi first. Because motzi is more important, bread is more important than wine. And therefore I say the bracha on the bread first and then the wine. And Shabbat on your, but the reason why you don't make a bracha on the wine during the meal is because you drank from the kiddush. So the gefen that you said on the kiddush covers the. How do you like that, David? But if a guy did not drink from the kiddush wine before by kiddush, then he wants to drink wine during the meal. He has to say a gefen. That would, right, right. He should. Nathan's pointing out on Shabbat we cover the bread, not to embarrass it, so to speak, because that should be first, even though it's more important. So you're illustrating how the importance of not offending, or importance of the fact how wine it's so prime. We need that wine here.
The reason that the rabbi just gave was that wine is so important, it would come before the Shabbat.
Right, because it brings the kiddush. Because of that, that's why it goes first. You have something else that's very important.
And we actually do the bread after.
If the right. So sometimes there might be some. So there we have, because I need to say kiddush on wine, right? Well, I have something that I can't, because the rabbis instituted that on Shabbat you can't just go ahead and just break bread. Start off your meal with breaking bread. The rabbi said, the Torah says you have to say kiddush. And the rabbi said you have to say the kiddush. What did you say? The Torah doesn't say you have to say kiddush first, but the rabbis say that you're not allowed to eat the bread unless you say the kiddush. So the rabbi said. So you say, why don't we do wine? But the wine is supposed to be done as part of the kiddush. The wine, that's the kiddush. Shabbat kiddush, right? Because the rabbis, the way the Sefer Chinuch writes, is the Torah did not obligate us to say kiddush over a cup of wine. Torah says, Zachar et Yom HaShabbat l'kadsho. Remember the Shabbat to sanctify. Talk about the holiness of Shabbat. There is an opinion that it is a biblical responsibility to remember it over with a cup of wine in front of you. That's not the main. Most opinions hold there's no biblical obligation to have wine in front of you. But the rabbis wanted to honor the kiddush, that recital of sanctifying the day and talk about holy day, to do it over a cup of wine, which gives it elegance and honor and class. And that's where the wine comes in. But the main mitzvah is you got to start off with kiddush. That's the mitzvah that you got to do. And generally, before you do a mitzvah, you can't eat. But you're not supposed to eat. A person's not supposed to eat before he takes the lulav, right? And I have an issue with some students of mine that they put on tefillin at 1:30 in the afternoon. They don't put on tefillin. They it's a Baruch College. A lot of times they're davening mincha 1:30. They're putting on tefillin. It's not that it's a tainit. It's a regular weekday, but they didn't pray with a minyan. They didn't put on tefillin early in the day. So I'm happy they're putting on tefillin at 1:30. But do they know that? So I tell them, you know what, Rabbi, how can I make sure that I put my tefillin early or whatever? I say, don't eat until you put on the tefillin. Then you'll remember. Then you'll get your tefillin on early in the day. That's the best thing. Follow the law. Don't eat until you put on your tefillin. You like that, David? Okay. Okay. So that's what the Gemara says. The Rabbi Bachana Amalek. Rabbi Bachana tells you the following. Anna, the Rabbi Bachana says that you say Shechianu first, and then after you say the Shechianu, then you say the Leshe Basukkah. That's the opinion of Rabbi Bachana. So he says, which he's going after the Tadir. So he says, Anna de Amri, I hold Afilu Beit Shammai. Beit Shammai, who says by Shabbat, you talk about the bracha of Shabbat first, the responsibility of the day, the chovat hayom. I say, if you would call up Beit Shammai and say, Beit Shammai, what would you hold by Sukkah? I hold he would agree with me that you say the Shechianu first. Why? Ad kan lo amri Beit Shammai hatam. You know why Beit Shammai held over there that you got to go ahead and talk about the holiness of Shabbat first before you even mention the wine. You got to talk about, if you start saying the bracha on the Shabbat, the bracha mekadesh Shabbat, because the whole reason why you got the wine here, why do you have wine Friday night? Why we have, like we just said a moment ago, because of the sanctity of the day, because it's Shabbat, that's why you bring out the wine. So because this is the cause of the whole celebration Friday night, it's all about the Shabbat. We're saying Kiddush. So it makes sense that the first thing Beit Shammai says is you should talk about the Shabbat. Why you talk about the wine first? The wine is just there because you need to sanctify the Shabbat. So you need to do it over a cup of wine. But what are we here? We're gathered here tonight, Friday night, to celebrate the Shabbat. So therefore, he has to talk about the Shabbat first. But when it comes to the holiday of Sukkot, right? It's the first night of Sukkot. Is the Sukkah is in order for us to have? We have two possible brachos. We have the question to say Shechianu first, or to say the what, or to say Leshe Basukkah first. Does the Sukkah cause us to go ahead and say the Shechianu? Meaning, if we would have the Sukkah here today, if let's say a guy is traveling, and he's not able to, and he's involved in a mitzvah of traveling where he can go and redeem captives, and he's exempt from the Sukkah, he's involved in his mitzvah, he's because he's osek in that mitzvah, he's exempt from that other mitzvah. But will he say Shechianu? Meaning you still say a Shechianu. It's on the day. It's not on the building only. It's not like Nathan says. If a guy for some reason wasn't able, an elderly person who's in his house and he's in a wheelchair, whatever situation, he can't get to the Sukkah, he's still going to make the bracha Shechianu the night of Sukkah, because he's saying Shechianu, like Nathan said, on the holiday. This is the holidays. We have many mitzvot on this holiday. We have the mitzvah of Sukkah. We have the mitzvah of lulav and etrog. In the Beit HaMikdash, they had the mayim on the mizbeach. There's a lot of things going on in the holiday. So the Shechianu is not without the Sukkah. It's on the moed. So the Shechianu is independent. The wine is not. It's not independent of the kiddush. Without kiddush, without the holiness of the day, without the kiddush, without Shabbat, if it wouldn't be the kiddush of Shabbat, there's no wine here. You wouldn't be having the wine. But this Leshe Basukkah, this bracha Leshe Basukkah is not a cause. This talking about the Sukkah, which is the bracha Leshe, is not the cause of the Shechianu. It's not that you have to have this mitzvah. You have to have this. You need this in order for you to say the Shechianu. Without sitting in the Sukkah, you have a Shechianu. But without the kiddush, there's no wine. Don't we say, we will say Shechianu? So therefore, he takes the position that when it comes to Sukkah, we should say the Shechianu first. We all know that, like we said, the first night of Sukkot, we go in and we say the Leisha Basukkah first. Okay. Tanan. Now we're turning the page. Now at 56a 3. Now the Gemara is going to challenge Rav's opinion from our Mishnah. What did we say in our Mishnah? Batseret, on the holiday of Shavuot, right? We said when Shavuot comes out on Shabbat, we said there's shtei lechem. There's 2 breads made out of chametz that are brought on the holiday of Shavuot to the Beit HaMikdash and given to the Kohanim. And there's the lechem hapanim. Every Shabbat had the lechem hapanim. Every Shabbat there was the 12 breads that you replaced the previous week on the shulchan, the table, and were removed the following week, and new breads were placed the following week, and the old breads from last week remained fresh. That was miraculous, and those were distributed between the new group of Kohanim and the previous group of Kohanim. This week's new Kohanim, that the new Mishmah, as we said on Shabbat, there was a changing of the guard, and it seems, I looked up, it seems many say that the changing of the guard was after Musaf. After the Shabbat Musaf, if that was still brought by the previous week's Mishmah, after Musaf now already comes to the new group that was, and they were the ones, the new group removed the previous week's, right, bread, and they go ahead and they are distributing the bread. And the Mishnah stated that there's 2 distributions, one of the lechem hapanim, and one distribution of the 2 breads on the Shabbat of Shavuot. And you needed to go ahead and tell the Kohanim, here's your matzah and here's your chametz. You cannot go ahead and say, you know what, since we are supposed to go ahead and get, we're supposed to go ahead and get both from the lechem hapanim and from the shtei halechem. So you might say, you know what, give me a little bit more of the now lechem hapanim, we said, was matzah. The 12 showbreads were made out of matzah. They were unleavened breads. The shtei halechem, the 2 breads that were brought on Shavuot, were chametz. You can't say we'll take an extra portion in the lechem hapanim and we'll give away our portion of the shtei halechem. And therefore, you got to be specific and say, here's your matzah, which refers to lechem, and here's your chametz. Now, what was the order that the Mishnah stated when you made the distribution? It's a mitzvah. Distribute it to the Kohanim should eat it. So what was the order? What did you say first? What mitzvah did you do first? Now, the distribution of the lechem hapanim was a weekly distribution. It was a weekly mitzvah. The bread, every Shabbat, you distributed the lechem hapanim. The distribution of the shtei halechem was once a year on the holiday Shavuot. And what did the Mishnah state? The Mishnah stated that you give the matzah, and then it says, here's the matzah, and then here's the chametz. So the Mishnah went with the tadir. The Mishnah went with the more matzah's tadir, because lechem hapanim was every week. So what did the Gemara say? Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah. Batseret, on Shavuot, that came out of Shabbat. And you got to distribute the lechem hapanim and the shtei lechem. Omalo, you tell every Kohen, when you're giving him his portion, and remember we said, that there's a unique halacha that the lechem hapanim, we said, belongs to all that on the holiday season, 3 times a year, Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuot, all 24 groups of Kohanim have equal shares in the lechem hapanim, right? That's what we said. We had a special pasuk that tells us that when it came to the lechem hapanim, usually every week, the regular week during the year, it was distributed between the new Mishmah, the new Kohanim that came on, and the old Kohanim from last week. But on the holiday, we said everybody gets all 24 groups of Kohanim, David, you and all the brothers, all the bros get are distributing. So now we said, here's your matzah, here's your chametz. V'hahacha, but over here, the chametz ikka. What is the main obligation of the day today? What's your main mitzvah on the Shabbat of Shavuot? Is bringing the two shtei halechem, bringing the two showbreads, the matzah, the lechem. Sorry, the two breads. Sorry, the shtei halechem, the two breads on Shavuot is the main. That's a special, unique mitzvah on Shavuot. Special korban. You have to bring two bread, and the matzah, which is the lechem hapanim, you're just removing it today. It's not the main mitzvah was done last week, but when you placed it on the table last week, that was the main. Rashi says because it was from last week. It's already last week. Now you're just removing it and you're bringing the frankincense on the altar that you had placed also by the table last week, and today, the following week, you're gonna bring the frankincense, you're gonna remove it, but the main was last week. And what do we say? So now, do you go after the chovat hayom, the obligatory thing of the day, or do you go after the tadir? So we say tani helech matzah. You say you go after the matzah, which is the more frequent, which is the lechem hapanim, more than the chametz, which is the obligation of the day. Sehilech chametz. So tiyufta de Rav. This is a knockout on Rav, it would seem to be, because Rav says the obligation of the day comes first. Rav says leishav basukah comes before shechiyanu. So here, but we see from here that the more frequent one comes first, which is the lechem hapanim, over the something which is the obligatory of the day. So the Gemara says, now I just want to tell you about the shtei halechem. I want to tell you about the shtei halechem. You know, on Shavuot, there's a minhag to have dairy, right? Everybody knows about that minhag to have dairy. And really, many have the custom. They first open the meal they wash, they say kiddush, they wash, they start off with dairy, then they clean up. Now, whatever bread you ate with dairy, you can't have the same bread they ate with dairy for meat. They remove the bread and they change the tablecloth, and then they eat a salad. They clean up their mouth. Then they have meat. They bring out new bread with the meat. What's behind that? So behind that is because on Shavuot there were these two breads, and this is a way to remember the two breads on Shavuot. Is by the fact that you have dairy and then meat, it's going to obligate you to have one Adam, two breads. Because I can't use the same bread for dairy and the same bread for meat. Okay, or at least three, right? But that's the reason behind. That's one of the main reasons. Maybe the Shulchan Aruch might itself give that reason. That's the reason because we want to remember this to stay lechem. So the Gemara says, Amalach Rav. Rav says, you know what? It's a very good point. You showed me our Mishnah doesn't fit like me, but I have another Tana. I have a different early rabbi that fits. Amalach Rav Tanoi. I agree with you now that my position is not a universal position. It's an argument of early rabbis, but I hold like the rabbi that disagrees with our Mishnah. The Tanya, we learned in the Breita, that says, you know what you give first? You give out the chametz first. You give the shtei halechem first. You give the obligation of the day first. And therefore, so too by Sukkah, the leishav Sukkah has to come first, and then comes, that's the obligation of the day, and then comes the shechianu. The Tanya, Heilech matzah. This is Bryce says, you first say, here's the matzah and here's the chametz. Take the matzah and the chametz. That means that's the tadir first. But Abba Shaul says, no, Heilech chametz. First talk about the chametz. First give out the thing, the obligation of the day, and then Heilech matzah. So therefore, I hold like Abba Shaul. You go after the obligation of the day. We'll continue tomorrow. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Fascinating Gemaras, everybody, isn't it?
Have a good day, Rabbi.
Ralph, thank you for being on. Thank you for being here.
Every day.
every day. It's great. Ralph, keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.